Hi guys, so the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss appeared on Sky News with Trevor Philips on Sunday where she responded, can I even say that? Because she certainly didn't provide any answers to his questions about the ongoing cost of living crisis. So Trevor rattled off a number of extra costs families and individuals are facing the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, and Liz Truss's response was, wait for it, the UK is the fastest growing economy in the G7. Yeah.
I think the thing that will be concerning most people in most of the country today, in 6 days' time, every working person is going to be hit with a national insurance contribution increase of 1.25%. That's a 10% rise for most people. In practical terms, for the average household, that is something like £300 a year, or, according to the Office for National Statistics, 6 weeks shopping at the supermarket. That's going to be followed, we think, by an energy price rise. That's another 600 quid. That's another 12 weeks shopping for poorer households, a lot more. Now, assuming you don't want most of the country to spend a third of the year not eating, where are people going to find that money from?
It is a very difficult situation that we face, and that is faced around the globe on the cost of living, because we are seeing the backwashes of the COVID crisis. We've seen problems with supply chains, problems with the delivery of goods.
Okay, but that's because of Brexit. It's not because of the pandemic. It's because of Brexit, something that you're now responsible for. You have replaced Lord Frost as Brexit minister, I think. Of course, Liz Truss was against Brexit in 2016, and now she's a Brexiteer. But that is because of Brexit.
And the best thing we can do as a government, which is what the Prime Minister is doing, is opening up our economy, helping the economy to grow. That's why we've now got the fastest growing economy in the G7.
Okay, so first of all, her response to a rise in national insurance, which is going to cost people about £300 a year, or as Trevor Philips said here, 6 weeks of shopping, is we have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We've reopened the economy. How is that going to help people? If somebody's saying, you're saying to somebody, yes, you're facing an extra £300 a year, but don't worry, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7. £600 extra in energy bills, or 12 weeks of shopping at the supermarket. But don't worry, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7. A third of the year, some people are going to have to decide whether they're going to heat their homes or feed their families. But don't worry, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7. But the problem with that is it's not actually even that. That's not even true. She said, we are, not we were, we are, because it says here in 2021, the UK was the fastest growing economy. Okay. During the pandemic, it was one of the worst affected. And in the last quarter of last year, it was one of the worst. But as I've covered this before, the economic growth figures for the UK and other countries are not entirely comparable due to the way that the UK calculates the output of its health and education sectors. This means that the UK's growth figures look relatively worse for 2020 and look relatively better in 2021. So when she says we have the fastest growing economy, well, that's not entirely true. But once again, how's that going to help people who are facing a national insurance contribution rise? How's that going to help people who are facing rising energy prices? And how's that going to help people facing the rising cost of inflation?
We're one of the most open countries where people are able to get back to work.
Notice she doesn't say anything about the highest death toll in Europe. And unfortunately, Trevor Philips doesn't challenge her on that. Yes, we have the most open economy. It's not helping a lot of people. It's helping some people, but it's not helping everyone. And there's a consequence of reopening the economy much too soon.
Able to get the economy going. And ultimately, we are going to pay the cost that we generated during the COVID crisis by economic.
We're all in this together. Does anyone truly believe that Liz Truss is negatively affected by any of this? Yes, she's paying a little bit more in national insurance contributions, but she's not going to feel the pinch. She's not going to have to decide whether she's going to eat or heat her home. She's not worried about the rising price of fuel. She's going to be well protected.
Economic growth, and that's what the Chancellor's focused on. That's what the Prime Minister's focused on. But of course, we do have to pay for the money we spent supporting business.
What do you mean we have to pay? Somebody else is paying. The people at the lower end of the economic scale are paying the most, not people like Liz Truss.
And supporting people during the COVID crisis. It's not an easy situation to deal with, but I think the public do recognise that we now have higher employment than we had at the start of the COVID crisis, and that really is an achievement.
That's a real achievement, higher employment. There's also underemployment. But I think a much better barometer is how people are actually surviving. And it says here, the number of people receiving 3 days' worth of emergency food by Truss food banks in the United Kingdom from 2008, 2009 to 2021. And let's park the pandemic for a moment, but you can see here there has been a rapid increase since the Tories came into power, since the Tories took over from the Labour Party. A rapid rise in food banks. So she can't say, yes, we're reopening the economy and that's going to help people, because before the pandemic, the situation was getting worse. So once again, Liz Truss's response to the rise in national insurance contributions is, don't worry, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7. Her response to the rise in energy prices is, don't worry, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7. And the fact that for a third of the year, many people are going to have to decide whether they can feed their families or heat their homes. Her response is, don't worry, people, we're the fastest growing economy in the G7, which unfortunately is not really true. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.